And these two women, they are so impressive now. They come into the class, they show attention, focus, concentration, self-discipline, respect. They work hard. Their attention is on point all the time. They learn at a ridiculous rate and their body is relaxed. Because they're in that state, they are able to outperform athletes that are 15, 20 years younger than them.
But was there a worry that you diving into complex trauma would effectively damage your competitive edge?
Not for me, but it could definitely do that if you tackle it in the wrong way.
Okay.
The other side that people don't get, your nervous system is what your sport runs on. So the capacity or the resilience of our own nervous system to stay in our parasympathetic nervous system during a performance is what puts us in the flow state, like what people class as a flow state, where we're just on point. Everything's fluid. We're running quick. We're moving fast. We're jumping high. We've got all of our power available, and we don't get fatigued. That is when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, but it takes resilience to stay there. With complex trauma, people are stuck in something called a spinal sympathetic state, which is from something called polyvagal theory. So if we can clear out the blockages in people's nervous systems, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score by a guy called Bessel van der Kolk. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's very interesting. So the body keeps all of the trauma locked inside it in different places. So we get niggles, our joints start to break down. There's a guy called Christopher Palmer who's just sort of proving very slowly that it's metabolism is a massive part of it. So any trauma we go through affects our metabolism. The metabolism then affects things like our mental health, our physical health, and our fitness, and all the components put together. But it's to do with energy production within the mitochondria within inside us. So all of this, like the information now, we're getting to the point where we have the information, you could call it technology or information, to solve a lot of the problems in the human race, if the people are brave enough to go through it. Because a lot of the fighters that I know, they're the tough guys, they're the tough women. They'll take kicks in the head, they'll get back up, they'll fight on. But if you try to talk to them about a time when they were humiliated by somebody or their parents or bullied at school, they're like a little baby lamb just shivering in a corner. That these people turn into like nervous wrecks because of those things. The problem people have got, especially with it in an athletic environment, in fighting, if we get triggered. So think how many different things could be triggering as you walk into the cage during a cage fight. You're connecting with the crowd. You're noticing people's faces, their body language. You've got the lights. You've got the preemption of what's going to happen in the fight. You've got a person who's going to be aggressive toward you. That's a very, very triggering situation. And if one of those bits of trauma within you gets triggered on the way to that cage or the way to the start line on the race, your performance is going to be bad because of it. And if we can clear this stuff out of the nervous system, then we can get better athletes, and we can get people who are secure, safe with themselves. They're not shamed at all, and they're willing to engage and give it everything they've got. On the other side of it, the characteristics that could make somebody a good athlete if they suffer from trauma, it could be like, so they have a change in priorities, and they think that being safe is more important than being loved. Safety should just be an absolute given thing. Everyone should feel safe. You shouldn't have to prioritize it. We're on a nice planet. There's a lot of people that are doing good. Why do we not feel safe in our own environment? So this priority change could make somebody learn martial arts, like to a height. If they feel so scared that they're willing to train twice as hard as everybody else. But then I've got a friend, real good guy. He was a former British cage fighting champion and jiu-jitsu black belt, phenomenal athlete. absolute beast of a guy. And he said, I spent like 10 to 12 years getting a jiu-jitsu black belt because I thought that when I got it, I'd feel stronger and safe. And he said, I should have just
Mm.
bought a dog. Like, and this is the thing. It's like, do we sacrifice, do we sacrifice that amount of time, that training just because of how we feel, or do
Mm.
we address how we feel?
Mm. Yeah, so I've got a very, very small background in fighting when I was like very young. Did a bit of judo, did a bit of kung fu, did a bit of fencing as well. Um, but I asked you the question because sometimes people in combat sports will identify themselves with, with a warrior character, a warrior identity. And then, the danger of, or in my mind, I'm thinking the danger of potentially kind of almost excavating these old feelings will kind of put them in a victim identity or a victim character, and then they lose that kind of that competitive edge. They lose that ability to kind of turn into the animal that they need to be when it comes to fighting. And then also there's the other aspect of it is sport and fitness being a form of almost punishment, almost like self-harm, as a way of dealing with, past issues. So yeah, it's like, I don't know, like it seems like, it almost seems like a contradiction in terms, like you being somebody that deals with combat sport, but also dealing with stuff like complex trauma. But I mean, do you have any cases or any examples or any colleagues that have gone through the process, maybe yourself as an example, have gone through the process of looking into complex trauma and becoming a better athlete? And if so, like, why is that?
So it's partly it's because we're cleaning out the nervous system. So all of the things that are distracting us. So as an example, we said about this change in priorities. Then we have things like a focus on instant gratification. And what do you get when you do a small 20-minute bit of exercise? You get a boost of endorphins, you get some dopamine, you get a little bit of serotonin, and you feel a bit better for a short amount of time. And then the problem is with complex trauma as well, we have an attraction to addictions. And the reason people are doing it is they're soothing themselves. They don't feel good. They go and train. It makes them feel better, but it doesn't last very long. So it's the same as smoking or drinking. If it makes us feel good for a certain amount of time, then we get a portion of time where everything feels regulated. We're having fun. We're distracted, and then we go back to normal. But the normal you go back to is never as good as the normal you left. So it's a downward trajectory. Whereas if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're getting small improvements in your fitness, you're getting small improvements in your mental health, then you're on an upward trajectory and you're doing it for the right reason. So obviously I can't mention names and things, but I have two female students in the range of about 42 years old, and they've been training a long time with me. They couldn't concentrate. They made everything into a joke. They were giggling. They were distracting each other quite a lot. If you put them with a person to partner with, they were not a good partner to be with because they didn't understand the drill we were doing. And I had a chat with them. They eventually went through the complex trauma course. They've come out the other side, and the level of learning curve that they've gone through is phenomenal. And even so, at their age, they started martial arts quite late, but my gym's like a family gym, so and the programs we put out are suitable, they're scalable for everyone. And these two women, they are so impressive now. They come into the class, they show.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. This is the voice of Iffy from within the edit. Please can you do us a favour and help appease the algorithm gods by liking and commenting below. If you feel comfortable sharing and think it will be of benefit to others, let us know if you've overcome trauma and in the process unlock some fitness or athletic potential. Or do you think that your fitness or athletic potential would be improved if you addressed your trauma? Now back to Ed with that transformation example.
And these two women, they are so impressive now. They come into the class, they show attention, focus, concentration, self-discipline, respect. They work hard, their attention is on point all the time. They learn at a ridiculous rate and their body is relaxed. And because they're in that state, they are able to outperform athletes that are 15, 20 years younger than them. And they're going to overtake these other athletes soon just because that's how fast they're learning now. But it's the reason is because we're distracted. Like some of the characteristics we went through. So instant gratification focus is about feeling better. Then we've got like impulsivity. So if you're playing sport, you've got to make choices. So we have speed of movement, but we have speed of thought, don't we? Clarity of thought. And if you decide impulsively to pass the ball to the wrong person or not assess the situation, where's the person behind you? The impulses that we have might be wrong, our perceptions. Whereas if you're in your prefrontal cortex, which the job of the prefrontal cortex is like executive decision making. If you've got suffer from complex trauma, you're not in your prefrontal cortex. It hasn't been trained properly. It hasn't come online properly yet. So your decisions are going to be much more, I'll do the impulsive thing that might get me out of the situation. Then again, we have a need for distraction, or we even have escaping through fantasy. So instead of being present in that gym or the martial arts class or the running club, they're only there to pass the time. And they're kind of fantasizing about someone else in the class, or they're fantasizing about being a world champion without becoming one. So we get these funny, distorted thoughts. Then we wear masks, so we present ourselves in a certain way where we're like, I need to be seen as prim and proper. I need to be seen as smart. I need to be seen as together, clear. And we put on a mask and we turn up like that, like we've got a pole stuck up our bum. And these type of things, if we can clear them out of people's nervous systems, we can allow them to relax. And in polyvagal theory, they call it a ventral vagal state, where we're calm, we're relaxed, our voice is calm, we've got clarity of thought, and we can really engage in the topic. Like, how many people have you seen in sports over the years, even just normal fitness, that they go to the class, they don't listen how to do the exercise correctly? I know your form is like really good on stuff. I've seen some of your videos and things that obviously over the years, and you do tell people the correct form, but people do the form wrong and hurt themselves. So then it's defeating the purpose of fitness, isn't it? Because it's like you should be fit for your purpose, whatever you're doing. So all of these things, it plays a massive role. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some high level athletes that are willing to go through this program, clear their trauma out, and you'll just see their level, their reaction speed will go up, their strength will go up, they'll have full access. So with the different stages of the nervous system, we can be calm, but it doesn't mean we can't be aggressive whilst we're calm. So if you can be in that angry position, you can be focused, and you can be strong with your shots, or accurate with a basketball shot, or kicking a football. If we can keep our clarity and who we are as a human being, and we can put the assertiveness in, and we can put this kind of engagement, other people can't deal with that engagement. And a good example of that is someone like Michael Venom Page, because he dances in front of you. He's super relaxed. He doesn't care if he gets knocked out. He's going to get back up. He's just going to have a good day for the rest of the day. And that's what it is. It's about being able to go in and out of these states, not be frozen in one of them, because that's what freedom is, isn't it? It's like an absence of boundaries, is having this freedom. Yeah. I hope that answered that question.
No, for sure. So, I mean, so like if I was now to kind of pitch, to a friend of mine who's into fitness, that they should, consider looking into complex trauma. Like what you're saying is, in terms of your nervous system, it allows you to kind of, I was going to say quiet your nervous system, not quiet your nervous system, but make it more still. Perhaps is maybe the better way. Less tension in the body. which would then, affect how you breathe, which then kind of like links onto, how you lift or how you run or how you jump. Okay. Yeah. Talking of Michael, like for the audience's sake, I used to do videography, and I some years back I worked with Ido Portal, and I think you guys were training with him for a week at the time, or maybe a few days. So I was like filming that session. One of the things that struck me is like how chilled you and Michael were, how polite, how reasonable you were. Like in my mind, again, having only a small experience of like, combat sports, like in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna come across some, guys with a lot of, machismo, and they'd probably not be the easiest people to chat to. But again, it's almost like that contradiction that you have as somebody who is naive to the world of combat. But I guess, you would have lots of examples of people that are effectively peaceful warriors or playful warriors. Like, and those two things can work together, right?
Yeah, a good example. So again, I've trained at shoot fighters a bit, not loads, but enough. If I walk in there, they are they are kind, they're considerate, they're caring, they're lovely, lovely people. That does not mean that they have to be like that all the time. If you overstep a boundary or you do something wrong or you're just being rude, not listening, you're going to meet what you bring in. And that's how I know whether an environment is safe for me to be in. If
Mm,
I go in there with calm and clarity and I've got the intention of learning and I get given the information I'm asking for, then I know that there's a fair exchange. My hard work and my effort earns me the information, and they openly give the information and they want the best for you.
mm,
Whereas if people, I've seen it before, people have gone in there and tried to rough someone up, and that's
mm,
not like, then they're going to go, all right, if you want to play that game, we're going to play that game, and they are more than equipped to do it. And
mm,
that's why I think that is the best gym on the planet. It's just like the people there, that Alexis and Marius and Paul, and so those people. I like I said, I didn't spend a huge amount of time there. I've sparred there, done a bit there and stuff, and I learned more in those short sparring rounds and the days that I've spent there than in any other gym anywhere,
mm,
because of the invite. They're the people that when the proverbial turd hits the fan, they're the people you want on your back. Like
mm,
they've got you, and you don't even have to worry about it because they have got you. And that's
mm,
for people to have other people in their lives like that. That's what your family should be like. And people are so used to not, like you said a minute ago, why is it that I'm talking about complex trauma and the nervous system and all the bad things that have happened to people in a calm way to try to understand it? But why did I become this like warrior class or whatever you want to call it, like the
mm,
samurai type walking? It's because most fighters that end up trying to learn how to fight in martial arts, the reason they did it is because they've tried to become the person they needed around them when they were a child.
mm,
And this
mm,
can play out lots of different ways. It plays out with doctors. It like a doctor, maybe they became a doctor because as a child they needed more trips, they needed someone caring about them and looking after them and nurturing them. And we're projecting these kind of roles around us because our parents didn't have the information to understand how human beings work, how trauma works, and how it affects us. And pretty much we're all chasing, like, no kid really says, oh, I want to be an accountant, or oh, I want to work in the petrol station. Like they're important jobs. They keep the world going. But kids say they want to be astronauts and athletes and space rocket engineers and all sorts of stuff. So it's like, where did our lives change course? And normally, if you track it back, it's where something happened that it made you think that your authentic self wasn't good enough. So you changed it a bit. but it's not something you change. It's something you have to learn to accept. And the more you change it, the more you're fighting against it, and the worse your pain becomes, because you're splitting yourself into two pieces: who you are authentically, and then the masks we wear on top of it.